Welcome to Honeybee, real stories of love, lies, and betrayal, where every truth stings. Let's begin. My name is William, and this is a story of how one single sentence ended my 4-year marriage. For 4 years, I bent over backward to prove I was different, to prove I was safe, constantly walking on eggshells around a person I loved more than anyone. But the day she said those words, she had no idea what I was about to do next. I first met Beth 8 years ago at a little coffee shop downtown. She was tucked away in the corner with her laptop, completely absorbed in whatever she was working on. I was there grading papers. I teach high school history, and something about her focus just caught my attention. When she got up to grab another coffee, I found myself getting in line, behind her. Our first conversation was simple, casual. She mentioned she was working on a marketing presentation and stressed about the deadline. I offered to buy her coffee, but she politely refused. Still, we ended up talking for nearly an hour after she wrapped up her work. Beth was intelligent, witty, and fascinating, but also guarded, like she was always ready to retreat at a moment's notice. When I asked for her number, she hesitated before giving it to me. Looking back, that hesitation should have been my first warning sign. Our early dates were amazing but confusing. Beth could be completely present and warm one moment, then go quiet and distant the next, as if she caught herself enjoying it too much. After our third date, she disappeared for 4 days. When she finally called, she gave me a speech about not looking for anything serious. She said she'd just gotten out of a toxic relationship a few months earlier and wasn't ready for something new, but she never actually said she didn't want to see me. It felt like she was putting up walls, but still leaving the door cracked open. Like she wanted to chase her, but also keep my distance just enough so she could run if it got too real. I should have walked away. Any logical person probably would have. But there was something about Beth that made me want to stay, to fight for her, to prove to her that not every man was like the ex who had hurt her. She mentioned him a few times. Thomas. They dated for 2 years, and from the way she talked about him, he completely shattered her trust. So I kept trying. For months, I put up with her hot and cold behavior. She'd cancel plans at the last minute, saying she was having a rough day and didn't want to drag me down. She'd vanish for days, then reappear at my apartment with takeout as if nothing had happened. She'd let me in emotionally, only to pull away when I tried to take our relationship deeper, physically or emotionally. And almost without realizing it, she'd throw Thomas in my face. Thomas used to say that. She'd comment when I tried to reassure her. Or she'd say, "I've heard that before," making me feel like I was being compared to a ghost I could never compete with. After months of trying, I was drained. I remember sitting in my car outside her apartment after she texted to cancel yet another date, staring at my phone, realizing I couldn't keep doing this. I was 28, had a good job, had my life together, and I was wasting time on someone who clearly wasn't ready for a real relationship. The next day, I finally sent her a text I'd been rehearsing in my mind for weeks. I told her I cared about her, but I couldn't keep being strung along. I said I understood she was working through things, but I needed someone who was present, someone who wasn't always running away from what we had. I wished her well and told her I thought it was best if we stopped seeing each other. Within hours, my phone blew up. Calls, texts, then she showed up at my school after work. Suddenly, Beth was available in ways she'd never been before. She wanted to have dinner that night, and the next night, and the night after that. She was affectionate, fully present, and more engaged than ever. It felt like a miracle, but also like she had only realized she wanted me because she thought she was about to lose me. Still, I was hopeful. Maybe she just needed time. Maybe now we could build something real. 2 months later, we made it official. For the first few months, everything was better than it had ever been. Beth was more open, more affectionate, more willing to plan a future with me. She met my parents at Thanksgiving, and they adored her. But even in those good months, there were signs. She'd tense up when I brought up anything too serious, like therapy or working through past trauma. She'd change the subject or shut down. And though she was subtler about it now, she still compared me to Thomas. Not always in a negative way, but in a way that made me feel like being different wasn't necessarily a good thing. Things changed after we moved in together, exactly 1 year after meeting. Living together meant there was no retreat when things got hard. And that's when I saw just how deep her trust issues ran. Beth had this habit of testing me, picking fights over little things, withdrawing affection to see how I'd react, waiting to see if I'd lose my temper or try to control her. It felt like I was on constant probation. And the hardest part? In 2 years of knowing her, I had never seen her cry. She'd get angry, shut down, go cold, but never let me see her truly vulnerable. Still, I saw her as a work in progress. I proposed during our 2nd year of living together. Not in the romantic way I'd once imagined, but in the quiet comfort of our living room on a Sunday morning. She said yes immediately. But even then, something about her reaction felt distant, like she was watching herself from the outside, not fully letting herself feel it. 8 months later, we got married in a small ceremony with only close family and friends. Beth was radiant, smiling all day. But that night in our hotel room, when I told her how excited I was to start our life together, she went quiet. When I asked what was wrong, she admitted she was scared, that the last time she'd been completely vulnerable, Thomas had used it against her and eventually cheated with someone from work. I promised her I wasn't Thomas, that I'd never hurt her like that. She nodded, but I could see it. She didn't believe me. She had already decided she would never let herself be that open again. The first year of marriage was brutal. We fought more than we ever had while dating. Beth would pick fights over nothing, push me until I raised my voice or shut down, then use my reaction as proof that I was just like every other man who had hurt her. She brought up Thomas constantly, sometimes saying, Thomas never would have said that, or at least Thomas was honest about what he wanted. She turned him into a weapon, holding him up as some twisted standard I could never reach. And intimacy? It only got worse. She went through the motions physically, but kept herself emotionally somewhere else. When I tried to talk to her about it, she'd get defensive, saying she couldn't just turn her feelings on and off like a machine. But the truth was, she turned them off completely when it came to me. By our 2nd year of marriage, I felt like a stranger in my own home. Beth was polite, even friendly most of the time, but there was no real connection. She'd talk to her friends about things she wouldn't share with me. She'd make big decisions about money or her career without asking my input, then act surprised when I was hurt. Every time I brought up counseling, she shot it down, insisting we didn't need strangers telling us how to fix our problems. But we weren't fixing anything. We were just coexisting, pretending to be a married couple without actually being partners. By year 3, I was running out of hope. I tried everything: patience, understanding, giving her space, proving over and over that I wasn't Thomas. But nothing worked. She had decided from day one she would never let me all the way in. I started therapy by myself. Dr. Martinez helped me see that I couldn't heal Beth's wounds for her, no matter how much I loved her. Understanding that didn't make it easy to live with. I was still lonely, still fighting for a marriage where I was the only one fully present. The breaking point came on a Tuesday evening. Beth came home in a bad mood after a hard day at work. I tried to comfort her, offered to order her favorite dinner, asked if she wanted to talk. Instead, she snapped, accused me of hovering, said she didn't need me to fix everything. So I gave her space. And that was wrong, too. She accused me of shutting down, of not caring. Then she dragged up old fights, old wounds, claiming I never really listened and that everything always had to be about me. I stayed calm as long as I could, but eventually I'd had enough. I told her I was done being her emotional punching bag, that I'd spent years proving I wasn't Thomas, and I was finished being punished for what he did. That's when she looked me straight in the eye and said, "Maybe you should have married Thomas. At least he was honest about who he was." Her words hit me like a physical blow. After 6 years together, 4 of them married, she was telling me she wished she'd married a man who betrayed her. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I didn't beg her to take it back. I just looked at her for a long moment and saw the truth, that no matter what I did, no matter how much I loved her, I would never be enough. I grabbed my wallet and keys, walked out, and didn't look back. Beth followed me, asking where I was going, but I was done talking. I drove straight to my parents' house. My mom took one look at me and knew I told him everything, all the ways I had tried to hold together a marriage that was never really whole. The next morning, I called a divorce lawyer. Since we had no kids and mostly separate finances, the process would be fairly simple. I stayed with my parents that week, thinking through everything. Beth called and texted nonstop. She left voicemails apologizing, saying she hadn't meant what she said, but I knew she had. A week later, I had the papers served to her at work. She accepted them calmly, but minutes later my phone rang. 8 calls in a row. For the first time in years, I heard Beth cry. She begged me to reconsider, promised counseling, promised to finally do the work to save our marriage. She said she only mentioned Thomas to hurt me, that she didn't mean it. But I knew better. People say what they really feel when they're angry. Over the next few weeks, her efforts to win me back grew desperate. Flowers, visits to my school, showing up at my parents' house. She even sent notes to my classroom. She was finally offering all the things I had begged her for: therapy, emotional intimacy, real vulnerability. But it was too late. You can't withhold yourself for 4 years and then expect someone to be grateful when you finally decide they're worth the risk. Beth wasn't suddenly ready to change because she loved me more. She was ready because she was afraid of losing me. And fear isn't the same as love. The divorce was finalized in February 2025. I saw her one last time at the courthouse. She tried to speak to me afterward, but I couldn't. There was nothing left to say. Looking back, I see all the signs I ignored. Beth never really got over Thomas. She just transferred all her pain onto me and expected me to carry it. We could have had something beautiful if she'd been willing to heal. But she chose fear over love, time and time again, until I realized I couldn't choose love for both of us. I don't hate Beth. I understand why she couldn't give herself to our marriage. What Thomas did to her was awful. But she chose to marry me while still emotionally tied to him, and that wasn't fair. The hardest thing I learned is that you can't love someone into healing. You can stand by them, encourage them, support them, but you can't do the work for them. If you're with someone who won't let you in, please understand, it's not your job to fix them. There comes a point where love has to be mutual, where both people have to show up fully. If you're the one still carrying pain from a past relationship, get help. Heal before you build a life with someone new. Don't punish someone who loves you for the hurt someone else caused. Marriage is hard enough when both people are all in. When one person is holding back, it becomes impossible. I'm doing better now. The loneliness I felt inside my marriage was worse than the loneliness I feel being single. At least now, I'm not constantly trying to prove myself to someone who already decided I wasn't enough. I'm still in therapy. Still learning why I stayed so long. Still learning to value myself enough to walk away from anything that doesn't serve me. Beth and I haven't spoken since the divorce. I've heard through friends that she's finally in therapy. I hope she finds peace. I hope she learns to trust again. Everyone deserves that. But her healing is no longer my responsibility. Beth once told me I wasn't Thomas, and she was right. I never was. I was just a safe option, the man she settled for while her heart was still with someone else. Love should never be a consolation prize. The night she told me she should have married her ex, she finally told me the truth. And sometimes, as painful as it is, the truth is exactly what you need to hear to finally set yourself free.